Recent polling has shown that the bill is unpopular, even among Republicans. Should this sort of response from voters that we saw last night at that town hall, should that worry Republicans?
No. And I think I need to correct one thing that you said is you talked about he had a town hall with his constituents. I wish that were true. As we know, the Democratic Party buses in a lot of people from outside his district. So I don't think that's a fair and accurate statement. However, let's talk about the one big beautiful bill.
She didn't want to talk about the response that Mike Flood got all night. Instead, she came up with the same tired line that, as we all know, I'm having trouble finding the source that's called "As We All Know." The source of "As We All Know" is Republican talking points to dismiss the fact that constituents are hell-bent on telling them that they're screwing things up, and they continue to destroy people's lives as they try to protect this fascist, pedophile peddling president in the White House. So she wanted to talk about the one big beautiful bill instead. And I honestly, there's not much defense to that either.
It is big and it is beautiful. And that's what we're doing is we are going out on the road and we are correcting the truth with the other half of the truth. Because if you ask 82% of America, think if you deserve to have Medicaid and you're able to work, that you should work. That is a winning issue if you take a look at that issue in and of itself. The bulk of the American population believes that we should have secure borders. The bulk of the Americans do not want a tax increase. And that's what we did with the one big beautiful bill is we made sure that the Democrats did not allow the biggest tax increase for working families in the history, because we know if you make under $50,000, if we didn't pass this bill, your taxes would have gone from 12% to 25%. What we have to do is we have to stop the fear mongering and go out and correct the truth with the other half of the truth. And that's exactly what we're doing. And what we're finding is when people understand it and they understand the truth, they are much more in favor of it.
Just because she calls her lies the truth does not make them the truth. 82% of Americans think that people should work for their health care. Which 82% of Americans did you get that number from? Just pulled it out of their asses. 82% of Americans think you should work. By the way, there's so many Americans that work and still don't get access to health care. What they call health care is, again, what they think is this exorbitant cost of things just to keep people alive. Their idea of affordable healthcare is so outrageous. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you spend several $1,000s on a procedure? What's wrong with you? Why did your leg get injured? Why did you get cancer? I think there's something wrong with you. Again, and as they talk about these tax breaks, the way there's going to be this tax increase on so many Americans, again, there's this small thing you can do. You can look into the details of how this bill works. So in conjunction with the couple $100s of tax savings that they're looking to give to people that make $50,000 or less, as they're stripping away also in this same bill of this tax break bill that's actually benefiting the richest in the country, because that's how these things work. The aspects of this tax bill is they're eliminating what they're calling entitlement programs that you don't deserve because you're a lazy piece of trash American that doesn't like to work and we hate you. When you get rid of those programs, people's overall costs go up. So you can save them $500 to $700 in a year for tax breaks, but when their costs of living, when their costs of groceries, when their costs of their health care goes up by thousands, the amount of money that they actually have to pay out versus what they take in, as we're firing people and this job market is going horrible, the reasons he wanted to fire that Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner, as all those things happen, what happens with regular Americans who have a limited amount of money, unlike the people who pay her to lie like this, they lose out. They have less money. She talked about the Texas gerrymandering situation as well.
Texas Republicans are arguing their redistricting push is about making the state more competitive. But you heard the president there say the quiet part out loud that he believes the GOP is, quote, entitled to 5 more House seats. Which is it?
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm going to side with the president. Listen, I think what we're doing is right. Is we need to have more more representation, and I do believe the president is right. And I don't think what we're doing is breaking the law. We are just, for the first time in a long time, playing the same game as the Democrats have played for years. And quite frankly, they don't like it and they're not used to it. So we'll see how this turns out. But at the end of the day, I hope we pick up 5 more seats, right? I hope we pick up more seats in other places, because our policies are what's going to win us the seats as well. Not just the seats, but it's our policies, Wolf.
Did you guys see how she said both things in that one answer? She said, in response to Donald Trump saying, we are entitled to 5 more seats in Texas, entitled in a democracy, in a representative democracy where people vote you in or not. And by the way, I don't know if they realize this. If people who normally vote conservative versus maybe people who normally vote more Democratic, if they want to vote the other way, they can. There's no entitlement to any seats. If you're not representing your people the way Representative Mike Flood is no longer doing, or probably never was, they can vote his ass out without being called people that were bussed in from other parts of the state. But again, in this representative, the legislator that we're supposed to have, they're entitled to more seats. That sounds like a dictator wanting to manipulate things to make sure he gets things that he wants, not based on the people who voted for them. But she agrees because, Donald Trump is our messiah. And as they're entitled to more seats, she hopes that they pick them up, not only because of that, but because of their agenda. Which one is it, Lisa? If your agenda is going to win the day, you should just rely on your agenda. But you guys are hell-bent on gerrymandering this state because your agenda sucks. And people are telling you, your agenda sucks. And as they hear that story, that their agenda sucks from the people who will vote them out, they say, let's make sure those people can't vote us out anymore.
Again, I just keep going back to it. We didn't make the rules of the game. We're just, for the first time in a long time, playing by the rules of the game, and
but
people
the
aren't
rules
used
of the
to that,
game,
and they're very uncomfortable.
Congresswoman, with all due respect, the rules of the game always traditionally have been after a census. Every 10 years, there's a new census in the United States. That's when you can redraw the districts based on where the populations have evolved to. This is a new deal now. In the middle will be, there's no decade new census now. They're just doing it now, Republicans. I don't think the Democrats have actually done it in advance, so many years ahead of a new census.
Yeah, I wish you'd put up the Illinois map as well. That's a good map to show as well. But with all due respect, and I appreciate that argument, Wolf, is there's nothing that says we can't do it now. It's just we are doing it now. And President Trump, as you know, is bold, is aggressive, and he's playing within his purview. And that's it. He's not doing anything wrong. He's trying to right size what has been wronged for so long, right? Massachusetts, let's talk about Maryland, let's talk about Illinois. He's bold, he's aggressive, and he is going to fight for the Republican Party. That's his job, and that's exactly what he's doing. And I applaud him for doing so.
It is not the president's job to fight for the Republican Party by any means necessary and eliminate the rest of Americans' rights to vote. Absolutely not, and their right to their representation. But he's bold and he's aggressive. Again, she started off, I wrote it down. She starts off by saying that they're just doing things right and doing things in response to what Democrats always do. Except for the fact that she didn't want to point out that the most advantageous states from their gerrymandering, because yes, I've mentioned this, both parties gerrymander. And the most advantageous of this gerrymandering is, of course, from Republicans who have fewer numbers of people in the country by population that vote for them. So to even that out, it's already put in their favor with the Electoral College for presidential levels. But then when it comes to where these guys end up getting voted in, they continue to gerrymander the states every time they need an opportunity to gain more seats. There's other folks. In fact, there's a state rep, Mitch Little from Texas. They get way more explicit about this idea that they can do whatever the hell they want because Donald Trump is an authoritarian.
The timing of this, can you talk to me about this? Why do this in a census off year when you just redistricted in 2021?
Because we can. We have the votes. It's legal for us to do so. It's legal for us to draw the lines based on political performance. We have 3 Hispanic predominated districts in South Texas that we believe that we can carve out for Republican leadership in the United States Congress. It's going to be a good thing for Texas. I don't spend any time thinking about what happens in California, Illinois, or New York. I'm here to protect Texas and ensure that our voices are heard.
So, because you can, why should you, though?
Because it's good for our party, it's good for our state, and we need to ensure that Donald Trump's agenda continues to be enacted throughout his second term. And we as Republicans see this as the difference between Democrats trying to impeach President Trump again during the second half of his final term as president of the United States, or accomplishing the agenda that all the voters in Texas by a significant majority sent him to accomplish.
So you're doing this for President Trump?
We're doing this for Texas. President Trump doesn't call me. I don't think he has my phone number. But what I would submit to you is this is the best thing for Texas and its representation in the United States Congress.
He went through 3 different levels of why this is important, but the first one is the most telling because that's when he's being the most honest. Because we can. He said because we have districts that are not advantageous for our party. They don't represent Americans, they represent their party. And when their party is led by Donald Trump, who represents himself, they then represent Donald Trump. The Republican Party represents Donald Trump. It's why there's been so many instances where people who previously thought they were voting for Donald Trump because he was going to help them and found out that he gave them middle fingers instead. They said, wow, I didn't vote for this. I voted for something you're going to help me. He said, no, you didn't. This is a dictatorship, bro. You voted for me to do whatever the hell I want to do. Mitch Little wasn't even done yet. After that, Breonna Taylor asked him, wait, so you're doing this for Donald Trump? No, we're doing this for Texas. How many times is he going to switch his answer to why they're doing this? Because we can, because we're focused on our party only, because we're doing it for Donald Trump. I mean, we're doing it for Texans.